Tsang's Of Whales invites viewers into a world where time feels suspended and language dissolves. Rather than explaining what it means to be a whale, Tsang allows us to experience it. But as moving as this experience is, it also raises questions about how we imagine nature. By turning the whale into a poetic and spiritual symbol, does Of Whales help us reconnect with the natural world? Or does it romanticize and obscure the ecological realities whales face today?
I'm aboard the Helen H in search of the North Atlantic right whale with a group of researchers from the New England Aquarium. This is a critically endangered animal. There are only about 300 left in the entire Atlantic. This is an animal that had been in the past ravaged by whaling, but today is under threat still by humans from being struck by our boats and tangled in our fishing gear. The thing is, where this animal likes to live has been changing over the past several years. They suspect it's due to climate change. The food it eats, zooplankton, has been moving as the waters have been changing and the whales have been moving with it. So figuring out where it is going, where the whale likes to be, will help us, it will give us the information we need to better protect it.
Across cultures, whales have long been seen as more than just animals. In myth, they are both monsters and guides, figures of transformation, crisis, and renewal. From Jonah in the Bible to the Vietnamese guardian whale, whales often appear as thresholds between worlds, or as beings that hold the power to transform. In the essay In the Belly of a Whale, Feathers and Folktales explores how being swallowed by a whale is not about punishment, but transition, a descent into mystery, where characters re-emerge changed. Tsang draws on this experience, offering a whale not as an object of study, but a site of emotional and spiritual experience. This symbolic framing aligns with Frank Zelko's concept of the metaphysical whale, a cultural shift in which whales came to represent emotional, spiritual, and even moral significance.
Specifically, sperm whales interest me because they are the deepest diving mammals, and they can dive to depths of over 2,000 meters, and they can hold their breath for over an hour. And for me, the whale in my research really became a symbol of what's beyond human, or what's like unknowable. And whales are creatures that we really emotionally connect to because we understand that they communicate, we understand that they have kinship, and that they have social groups. And so in that sense, there's this kind of poetic relationship that we have to them, where we both are whales, but the whales are beyond us. These are sort of two concepts that were really interesting to me, that really come in conversation with my collaborators as well.
In this view, whales stand for an idealized nature, marked by harmony and intelligence. As modern life became increasingly industrial and disconnected from ecological systems, whales became symbols of what we fear losing: an intimate relationship with nature and a sense of meaning beyond human control. Of Whales reflects this longing by framing the whale as a solitary, floating presence in a vast, mysterious ocean. In the exhibition, we're not asked to understand the whale biologically, but to feel its presence mythically. This can certainly inspire ecological empathy, but it can also suggest that nature's value lies in how it makes us feel, rather than in its own reality. In this way, the whale risks becoming more about human desire than about the whale itself. The framing reshapes our relationship with nature. Instead of one grounded in responsibility or mutual coexistence, we're left with a relationship based on projection, emotional gratification over ecological truth. The whale becomes a metaphor, a vessel for longing. And in doing so, the real struggles of whales, from pollution to habitat destruction to the ongoing effects of commercial whaling, are sometimes eclipsed. But why does Tsang want us to experience the world this way? Her work has long embraced ambiguity, not as indecision, but as resistance to fixed meaning. In previous projects, Tsang has explored the fluidity of identity, space, and perspective. In Of Whales, this ambiguity turns outward, towards nature itself. Here, the open-ended experience reflects how whales have always been seen across cultures, as beings of both body and mystery. The whale is never named, explained, or categorized. It drifts through a surreal seascape where jellyfish become stars and oceans become memory. This isn't ambiguity for its own sake, it reflects a deeper truth. We don't fully understand whales. We don't know how they think or what they remember. Rather than pretend we do, Tsang is asking us to dwell in that uncertainty. And yet, this poetic distance raises a difficult question. By leaning so deeply into myth and feeling, does the installation risk floating away from the material world, the real ocean, the real whale? Many contemporary stories, like Princess Mononoke or Extraordinary Attorney Wu, have helped frame animals and nature as emotional guides or spiritual symbols. These works are powerful, and Of Whales joins their lineage. But Of Whales goes one step further. It strips away language, plot, and character. It slows us down, asks us to feel instead of think, to float instead of walk away. And in doing so, it becomes a kind of mirror. A mirror not just for nature, but for ourselves, our longing, our guilt, our grief. It's beautiful, yes, but it's also quiet, unsettling, and unresolved. And perhaps that's the point. Because whales are not just metaphors, they are real. They live, breathe, migrate, sing. And they are in danger. From ship strikes, from sonar, from melting ice caps, from climate change and chemical runoff and broken treaties. Even with international laws like the 1986 ban on commercial whaling, enforcement is uneven. Loopholes remain. Some nations continue to hurt whales under the guise of research. And even without harpoons, modern threats like ocean noise and swim with tourism practices have invisible but devastating impacts. So while the metaphysical whale inspires awe, the ecological whale demands action. Of Whales helps us reconnect with the mystery and magic of nature. But we must be careful not to stop there. Feeling is not enough. Wonder is not a substitute for responsibility. The installation invites us to listen, to reflect, to slow down, but it also leaves space for what comes next. So, does Of Whales help us reconnect with the natural world, or does it romanticize and obscure the realities whales face? Maybe it does both. Maybe its power lies in that tension. Because to truly see through the eyes of a whale, we must hold two truths at once: the awe and the urgency.